Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. We are back again with more King Arthur Knight's Tale, and this time I was going to do a breakdown of all the abilities available to Lady Dindraine, who thus far in my playthrough, as far as I can tell, is the best archer in the game. And she's someone you get very early. I've had her since I think at least around level 2 or 3. And she has been fantastic the entire time. Let's go ahead and dive right in. So she starts out with Shoot, which is a ranged attack that is going to do 100% weapon damage. For upgrade, she gets Piercing Bow, which gains 3 armor piercing, and she's able to reduce all cooldowns by 1 turn when she kills an enemy with Shoot, which she will do very often. Now, there's 2 other upgrades for Shoot, and I recommend you choose one of them. You have where it will do additional weapon damage against burning units, or you could do additional damage against poison units. It would take a lot of points to be able to excel at both fire and poison. So again, I recommend you go ahead and choose one of them and then move forward with that. So speaking of poison, you have Poison Arrow. So it's going to do 100% weapon damage and then poison the target for 2 turns. Poison means the target is going to suffer 10% damage at the start of their turn and that they deal negative 20% damage. Now, for upgrades, you can cause 20% vulnerability to the target. If the target is killed by Poison Arrow, units within 2 tiles also get poison. It can deal an additional 15% weapon damage, and you can extend the poison's effect duration. Now, here's the thing about poison. If you watch my tip video, you already know. The lost ones, who are essentially undead, are immune to poison, and you see a ton of lost ones at the beginning of the game, and then they're sprinkled in various areas throughout the mid game and late game. So you have to make a decision about whether or not you want to specialize in something that some characters are going to be immune to. I personally decided that wasn't worth it, and which is why I sent Lady Dindraine over to fire. Now, there is one reason why, even though there are a bunch of enemies who are immune to poison, you might still want to specialize in poison. All the way at the bottom, you get Poison Bomb, which allows you to deal 70% weapon damage in an area of 3x3 tiles. This is the only skill Lady Dindraine gets that really allows her to carpet bomb an entire area. Otherwise, she is going to attack enemies 1 by 1. So if you wanted to give her the ability to just bomb a bunch of squares, going the poison route would probably be the best way to do that. And in addition to this main skill, the upgrades is going to allow you to poison people for longer, increase the weapon damage. It's going to reduce the AP cost of Poison Bomb, so it's going to cost 4 AP. And units hit by Poison Bomb are going to lose 3 armor. So it's a very powerful skill. Now, here's the other thing. If you decided you want to do this and you're going to specialize in poison, then more than likely you really need to go ahead and get Alchemist as well. So it's going to decrease the AP cost of skills that use poison by 1. It's going to increase their weapon damage. It's going to increase the duration of poison. Enemies hit by poison have their damage reduced by a further 50%, and remember originally it's 20%, so basically any enemy that is poisoned, they're going to do 70% less damage, which is nothing to sneeze at. And finally, they're going to lose 1 armor at the start of their turns. And then, of course, if you're bombing them, they're going to lose 3 armor. So basically, it will be 4 armor up front and then 1 after every turn. Obviously, this is a very powerful setup, and it's going to work against a lot of the late game enemies that you encounter. So definitely not trying to tell you should avoid poison, but for me personally, going through this game the first time, since a lot of the enemies that you meet up front are immune to poison, I avoided it, but thought this was definitely worth pointing out. All right, moving on. I decided to specialize in fire, so I got Fire Arrow. This is going to deal 70% weapon damage and cause burning on units, which means they're going to suffer 40% damage at the start of their turn. You also can get crippling hit, which is going to allow burning units to gain 1 less AP per turn. I increase the duration of the burning. With explosive arrow, every time you hit a target with fire arrow, all the other adjacent units are going to start burning as well. And I increase the weapon damage by 15%. All of this together makes fire arrow extremely potent and something I like to use quite a bit. Then you also have Scout, which is going to provide Lady Dindraine with 1 movement AP each turn, and she gets a +1 to perception. So the movement AP is definitely useful because your allies can block your line of sight. So on the first turn, it's not a problem because I have a formation where, in fact, you've seen this if you looked at my tips video, I use a formation that has Lady Dindraine out front to ensure that she is not blocked. But in your second turn, all your tanks or your champions or all your frontline fighters are already out in front, and it's going to obscure your ability to get to some of the enemies. So there are definitely going to be times where you have to move to get the right angle. So having an additional movement AP means that you can use it specifically for movement and then leave your regular AP for you to actually be able to do attacks with. Very, very useful. Perception is useful to be able to uncover hidden pouches of gold or hidden treasure chest. A level 1 in perception will allow you to detect these things, but every additional ranking after 1 extends the amount of squares where you can detect something. So you don't necessarily have to be close to it in order for it to be picked up on your radar. In addition, for the upgrades, I got an additional 2 movement AP, so every turn she has 3 AP, or at least for the first turn of the encounter, she has 3 movement AP that she can use to move around as she sees fit. And then I also have it where she's going to gain 1 AP at the start of her turn if 5 or more AP was spent on movement in the previous turn. So I felt like both of those were worth picking up. The other 2, she could receive a -4 damage from ranged attacks. She shouldn't be getting hit, so I didn't feel like this was necessary. And the first dodge, so the first ranged hit the hero receives in each encounter is automatically dodged. Again, this is defensive. She shouldn't be getting hit, so I don't bother putting defensive powers on her. Next up is deflection. The hero receives -4 damage from ranged attacks. I felt like I should take something because there are some times where the angle you have to have in order to be able to hit the enemy you want to hit could potentially place you in danger. So I just took just 1 ability that was going to give her some damage mitigation, and then otherwise went all offense. Adrenaline is going to give you 1 AP when killing a unit. Sometimes this allows you to be able to do another attack or another 2 attacks in the same turn, so definitely worth it. And then finally, plus 20% to Overwatch damage. Overwatch can be very, very powerful when you want to wait for enemies to approach. But a lot of times the enemies are right there out on the field. So most of the time I'm having Lady Dindraine use one of her abilities. I don't use Overwatch all that often, and so that's why I didn't pick this up. Next up is Aimed Shot, ranged attack with 14 armor piercing that consumes all remaining AP, and it deals 25% weapon damage per AP spent. Obviously, this is your sniper ability, and it can be insanely powerful in the right situation. For upgrades, you can gain 2 movement AP when killing a unit with Aimed Shot. You can get another 20% weapon damage with it against unarmored units. You can set it up where it cannot be blocked, and you can increase the tile range by 2. So definitely, this is absolutely worth it, and it's going to let you bomb enemies. You might be wondering, since I'm using Lady Dindraine so much, why don't I have any points in this? And that's because I have a bow relic, which anytime that I hit an enemy using shoot, it'll automatically target another enemy within 5 tiles for 50% weapon damage. So basically my playstyle is, if it's a group of enemies, Then I'm going to light them up with fire, and then I'm just going to start shooting them over and over again, which is also going to reduce my cooldown and make me able to use burning arrow, fire arrow that much quicker. So that's the only reason that I don't have this, because basically I'm using shoot every time I can. But if I didn't have this relic, then I would absolutely be putting points into this. Next up is dash, which allows the hero to become immune to opportunity attacks while dashing. And you see you have a range of 2 to 7 for dashing. This is absolutely fantastic and really helps Lady Dindraine to be set up at the exact right angle to be able to get the shots that she wants. You can, of course, increase the tile range. You can reduce the cooldown, and you can reduce the AP cost. So now it only costs 1 AP for me to be able to use dash. You can also decrease the AP cost of Overwatch by 1 after dashing. Again, I don't use Overwatch that often, but if I did, this would be an upgrade well worth taking. Regardless, dash and these other upgrades are absolutely worth picking up. We've already talked about Alchemist. If we go over the first shot, you get an additional 15% weapon damage for the first attack on each turn if no AP was spent in that turn. The bonus damage is retained when spending movement AP. Definitely very, very powerful and something she can take and get advantage of multiple times. And then Pyromania gives you a 50% increase to burning damage. Very, very nice. Real quick, before we move on to the last panel, if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate you hitting the like button. It helps me figure out what content the channel is enjoying and helps spread my videos to more people. I really appreciate all of your support. Moving on to the last slide, we have already talked about Poison Bomb. Cover Expert gives you a +1 tile range for all skills used from cover. It's actually very easy for you to be able to get into cover, so I would say this is definitely worth it. You can get, as far as upgrades, an additional 10% weapon damage dealt from cover, an additional 20% physical debuff resist and cover. I don't think this is worth it. Again, don't need to be defensive. While the hero is in cover, their armor is unbreakable. Again, don't think this is worth it. And cover reduces damage taken by the hero by 10%. So again, for the rest of those, I feel like you shouldn't be getting hit. You should be far enough away or off to the side enough where you shouldn't be taking hits, and therefore this shouldn't be worth it. But the original skill and the upgrade that increases weapon damage, I definitely feel like that fits into her build. Next up is Long Reach, which is going to increase the tile range for all attacks, regardless of whether or not you're in cover. And then its upgrades are going to increase weapon damage against units that are at least 6 tiles away. It's going to give you a +1 tile range for skills when the hero is at maximum AP. It's going to give you an additional 10% weapon damage when the hero is disengaged, which you should just about always be disengaged. And it's going to give you an additional 25% weapon damage for the first attack in an encounter. I would say all of these upgrades and the original skill are well worth it and something you want to go ahead and pick up. Evasion allows you to dodge the first incoming melee attack each turn. She shouldn't be getting hit, so shouldn't need this. Scout is going to give you an additional movement AP each turn, and it's going to give you +1 perception. At this point, you can see I have 5 perception, and I already have the original boost in movement AP from the original version of Scout. So honestly, I don't think this is really all that worth it, but your mileage may vary depending upon your personal playstyle. And then finally, Hunter. The AP cost of all skills is reduced by 1 when only 1 enemy is present in the encounter. This is okay, but most of the time, if you're down to 1 enemy, the fight's already over, and it's just a matter of time. There's no enemy I've run into where he or she was all by themselves, but I was still biting my nails and on the edge of my seat. By the time you get down to 1, it's all over. So maybe you could pick this up if this was like the very last skill that you needed, but I don't really feel like it does that much for you. And that is the breakdown of the abilities for Lady Dindraine. Hopefully you all found this information informative and it helped you figure out your own personal builds for how you would like to buff her up. Hope all of you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a like, share this content, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will see you all in the next video. Take care.